So, in this presentation, we're going to talk about another controversy that I think a lot of people seem to have, and that is that old creativity and intelligence seem to decline with age. And a common stereotype is that older people take longer to learn new things is absolutely true, but it doesn't affect their everyday performance. Chronological age alone doesn't explain much about learning ability either. Lack of practice, difference in learning styles, and motivation explain much more than just chronological age, especially finding difficult to find a good definition for what creativity really is. So there's a couple elements of cognitive function that we'll be looking at, you'll be reading about. One's called fluid intelligence, and this is intelligence that's applied to anything new or the ability to come up with a novel or creative solution to something that maybe most people don't even see what the problem is. And absolutely, creativity has been linked to fluid intelligence. Crystallized intelligence, on the other hand, reflects the accumulated past experiences and effects of socialization on a person. So crystallized intelligence reflects gains made in practical, everyday life expertise experiences, often associated with wisdom. In some societies around the world, particularly in the East, old age is viewed as an appropriate time for spiritual exploration and artistic development. This may be enhanced by the fact that the sources of creativity and productivity in later life are complex and result from many different factors. Many examples of creativity in later life focus on extraordinary older people, but ordinary older people also show increased abilities in new ways of thinking and acting with innovation and creativity. Creativity is very difficult to define or measure. Social scientists have been working, researching this and measuring intellect for quite some time now, and there's a couple scales that they've come out with. The Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale is probably considered to be the best measure of global or general intelligence, which includes both verbal and performance scales. Verbal scales tend to remain stable. Performance scales tend to decline, which I think should be an obvious situation. There's a classic aging pattern, and it's defined as the persistent difference in scores on measures of verbal and performance intelligence. It's an item also known as the validity problem, and that's really refers to the problem of measuring real intelligence. It's helped fuel the debate over whether any positive cognitive developments do come with age. And then there's everyday intelligence or common sense, which involves pragmatic or social judgment, which is more than abstract reasoning. Everyday problem solving, also known as expertise in life planning, and wisdom, an expert knowledge system derived from experience and capability of dealing with pragmatic problems. Research on intelligence in later life often conflates or confuses intelligence, wisdom, and creativity. There aren't any agreed definitions of wisdom and creativity. There are ways of measuring these. It's kind of one of those things, you just know it when you see it, I guess. Results of research really depend on the design, and there's two major types, longitudinal and cross-sectional. Cross-sectional studies look at groups of young and old people at a single point in time. So it may want to look at people's attitudes about, I don't know, aging, and look at someone who's 20, someone who's 30, 40, 50, 60, like that, and compare their answers. On the other hand, longitudinal studies follow the same people over many years, and it really makes more sense in this area of study because cross-sectional studies tend to overestimate the impact of chronological age. And longitudinal studies have found the steepest average intellectual declines come after age 60. Young people taking IQ tests may do better than older people for a number of reasons. They tend to be more familiar with test taking from recent experiences in school and have oftentimes less test anxiety. Many older people have internalized ageist beliefs that cognitive function declines is a normal part of aging, and they expect to do poorly. It's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And also, current cohorts of older adults have different educational experiences and exposure to technology. So we see that all the time. And there are a number of older adults who are very aware of the latest technology, and many who are not. Longitudinal studies also have found that few people show any global declines in intelligence as they age. It's a concept called cognitive reserve capacity, which is defined as a degree of unused potential for learning that exists in a person at any particular time. And aging is accompanied by a clear loss of this cognitive reserve capacity. Although fluid intelligence declines with age, crystallized intelligence abilities seem to increase. That seems to be intuitive to think about. And although fluid intelligence declines with age, crystallized intelligence, this increase is basically due to the opportunity and connection with long-term memory. Another concept, decrement with compensation, which is defined as declines in cognitive ability among older people, can often be compensated for by the expertise acquired from living a long time. So that seems to make sense, that experiences as you live longer come into play. So at my age, I may have come across a number of times a particular problem, whereas someone younger may be experiencing that problem for the first time. So the difference is that when I come across that problem, I have 3 or 4 or more opportunities to remember how I addressed the problem in the past, and the younger person may have to be more creative and come up with a solution for the first time. And there's a difference out there between realists and optimists with respect to the causes and meanings of measured declines of IQ scores with age. And there continues to be a question about whether or not basic personality and temperament change in adulthood, although most of the research that I have looked at suggests that personality and temperament stay pretty much the same. Someone who is a grumpy old woman or man probably was pretty grumpy through most of their life. When intelligence is defined as the ability to think and learn new things, there's a lot of what's known as plasticity or potential growth even at older ages. And this is kind of new research that people have been finding, that older adults, many of them have the opportunity to learn new things. And oftentimes what I find in my own experience is that when I do learn something new, I oftentimes will have to let something go that I thought I knew. Um, Discussions of creativity, wisdom, and intelligence as we age should remind us how little we know about what the possibilities are in later life. Studies of previous cohorts of older people may not be a good basis for judging what older people are capable of today or in the future. Why would you imagine that would be? Um, because we really haven't had particularly good studies. The the amount of knowledge that we have to deal with today is dramatically different than when I was a kid. It was a much simpler time, and so right now, knowledge some experts suggest is doubling more or less around every 7 years. And in some fields like nanotechnology, that could be 2 or 3 years, and the amount of knowledge we have about that subject has been doubled. So, as with your other chapters, there's a number of very interesting and thought provoking readings that I hope you take a look at and dig into. And we'll talk some more about this particular subject as we continue.